Welcome to SmartLess with Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes, and me, Will Arnett. Each week, one of us brings on a special guest and surprises the other two. They don't know who the guest is, which makes it fun. And then we laugh and we get a little less SmartLess. So I guess more smarter. More smarter. We should have named it more smarter. Anyway, come take a ride on the SmartLess train.
SmartLess.
Well, congratulations. You just had a baby. That's pretty amazing.
It should be noted, my partner had a baby. I didn't do it.
But you pushed just as hard.
I sure did. I
during
pushed
the
her.
whole thing. Yeah.
I was like, what are you made of? I was like the great Santini in the delivery room. Just had a baby boy, little Denny.
That's incredible. Just last night.
Yeah. So crazy. Do I look tired?
You do.
So way to hang in there with your girl. You just thought you'd pop over for a podcast, huh?
Well, I mean, somebody's got to pay the doctor bills. Do you understand? We don't have health care in this country. Like, I'm just...
Are they both still in the hospital? Are they both?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow,
but
wow.
And where are you? You're at home and
you're at home
doing a podcast. That's great.
Well,
so you got a pretty stiff deductible, I guess.
And I had to come home and sauna and cold plunge first. I mean, listen, this chassis, as you would say, Jason, it's no fluke. Okay.
Wow, that's
no. I actually, as you guys know, I was a little late getting here. All of a sudden I stood up and I was like, "Babe, I'll be right back."
Oh my God!
Raced down, jumped in the car, drove home, got on here doing this, and I'm going to be right back at it. But I just actually came from feeding him myself. He took a little extra in the bottle, and it was just unbelievable.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, I'm talking about Jason.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Yeah.
I got to look at him. He looks like he's about to poop any second.
I think maybe I should probably have like a lift. Some sort of like isn't there a thing where you can kind of like cinch up your forehead a little bit and lift your brow back?
Interested when Ed Begley had the eyes because he had alopecia, and then
he put his eyebrows on upside down.
And I go, "God, you look surprised." And he says, "Oh, do I? Sorry, I must have put my eyebrows too high."
No, he said, "I think I put my eyebrows on upside down."
Guys, I'm super excited about our guest today. He's a fellow that we all know and we love very much. He's originally from the suburbs of Detroit. And this I didn't know, graduated magna cum laude from UCLA in anthropology. What? I did not know that. And I've known this man for a long time. He's been very successful in everything he does.
Andy Richter.
Movies, movies, TV shows, to his marriage, to being a father, to his own podcast, from which we could all learn a thing or two.
Dax Shepard.
Yes.
I love this man. He's one of my besties, one of the kindest,
Shepard,
smartest people I've ever known.
I got it.
It's
Today on
Dax Shepard.
SmartLess, we have with us the amazing Dax Shepard, everybody.
Magna cum... Hang on
When you
second.
said magna cum laude, I knew that because I'm not jealous of the fact that he's got it. It fills me with so much joy because one of the things about Dax is you look at this son of a gun. He's got an attitude. He's got the cutoff shirts that I love. He's got the guns. He's got the whole thing. And then this motherfucker is sneaky smart like you wouldn't believe.
Wait a second, Dax. How come you didn't let me know ever that you graduated magna cum? That seems like something you might lead with.
Yeah, from UCLA.
Under promise, over deliver, boys.
Wait.
I have to write that
Get
down.
the guard down. Chauncey Gardner it, and then sweep in and get all your women.
I'm kind of dead serious. I'm really
Barney,
shocked.
your lady, although I've not met her and she's just with child, she's mine.
Jeez, I knew that.
It's cutthroat.
Is the kid yours too?
I don't want another kid for crying out loud. No, I just want another bedmate.
If he wanted it, he'd take it.
Wait, are you dipping right now? Hang on a second. Are you dipping?
You're dipping. Yeah, you're chewing. Dax is chewing.
Wait, do you have chewing tobacco in your mouth right now?
Let's just put me right on blast, Four Eyes.
Yeah. No. Oh, sorry.
You want to go down this road?
Wait, but
you want to start picking fights, lighting fires?
Wait, magna cum laude and dipping.
Jason, here's where you could learn from Dax. When I did Dax's podcast, he let me up there in his space. He let me blow some darts, and I was killing the butts, and he never mentioned it on the air. And then he comes on here. He's not on here 6 seconds before you're blowing up his spot.
Wait, is that a secret? Are you supposed to like keep that quiet? That chewing tobacco?
Well,
I know. I never knew that. I never knew that about you.
I think it offsets his magna cum laude quite nicely.
Exactly. And in the rare event that there's like 10 or 15 young men who look up to me, I find it hard to believe, but I certainly wouldn't want them packing a dip just to be like me. I'm not trying to promote that. Now, look, yeah, do I have some bad habits still? Yeah, I've cleaned up a bunch of them, but there's some left. And this chewing tobacco, look, I'm on and off, and in quarantine, I'm all the fucking way on it.
It's not the loose stuff though. They're bandits, right?
No, yeah, I got a big. Let me show you.
God,
Look at that thing.
Have you ever swallowed it by mistake?
Probably while drunk, drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, out of an old beer bottle that I've been spitting in. It happened.
My brothers used to chew and would swallow and then throw it up.
to manage their weight, or
No, because they were probably drunk. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of things happen. Yeah, that's what I loved about being a drunk, and I think a few of you can relate, is that you'd show up on vacation. You don't need a game plan. Just have a couple of cocktails at the bar, and everything else presents itself. You meet someone next to you that you would never hang out with, but you're lit. He's got to come to my bungalow. Great. He's got these pills. Yeah. Now we heard of a dance club. You know, everything just happens. All you got to do is just get that first drink down, and everything takes care of itself. And in sobriety, when I went on vacation, I'm like, what? What do you go by the pool and watch other people pound cocktails responsibly?
Right. Wait, but what age were you when you started doing all that?
Partying?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I had a year in high school where I actually spoke to my mother, and I said, look, I know Dad's an alcoholic and everyone in the family's an alcoholic, but I'm going to need to find out for myself. And she said, I really wish you wouldn't do this, but I'm gonna allow it, but with the understanding that if it gets out of control, you promise me you'll listen to me. And I said, yeah, I can commit to that. And then I was woken up on one Saturday morning because the local law was at the house on a Saturday morning, and they wanted to speak to her son, and that proved to be the nail in it. So I then shut it down for my full senior year because I respected her, and then I went back at it when I graduated, and then I did 11 hard years.
Good for you. Good for you for getting back at it, too, because a lot of guys would have given it up and just thrown in the towel. But this guy's got to get up and get it. He's got an engine on him that don't quit.
I said, look, I think this law enforcement showing up at my house in the morning, that's got to be an anomaly. That can't happen again.
Now, Dax, I truly do want to know. I've always wanted to ask you, because when you said you started this podcast, I don't know, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? I don't know how long ago it was.
2.5.
And you were like, I'm doing this podcast up in my attic. I'm like, what? I didn't understand. Like, what made you want to do it?
I was a pretty regular guest on some of them, and the feedback I got, say, from Mark Maron, where dozens of dudes had stopped me over the years and said, like, hey, man, I listened to that episode pretty often. I got sober after hearing it, and I always kind of go back to it. Like, I had so many guys tell me that, and I was like, I don't feel that when I'm in a movie looking in the barrel over Don Johnson's shoulder. No one stops me and says that got me sober, although certainly someone got sober because of that. But I was just, I was really, really moved with the response of being a guest on like Sam Jones, Mark Maron, a few of the long form ones. And as all of us have done, we're all comedians and we've all done a million talk shows. You know, that pressure to be amazing in 6 minutes, which is fun. I love it. I love being on talk shows. But I wanted for like, I have more thoughts and I have more to offer and I have a bigger story to tell and I want to do it. But just, again, largely just enjoying being on the long form ones so much and generally being open to being on people's and just always loving the experience. I was like, I want to do this all the time.
Do you miss, like, I've worked with each one of you individually for months at a time on multiple projects. And one of the things I love, and it's probably one of the reasons I do this, is because I love that experience, not just doing the scene, but I love hanging out with guys like you and people like you and gals like you, like having fun and laughing. I've had some of my greatest experiences working have been with all three of you guys, where I've had a great time.
Likewise.
That's everything. That's the whole reason to do the job after a while.
It's such a blast. And so and formed really great lifelong relationships with all three of you guys. So do you miss that part of it? Do you feel like alone or no?
Well, I just shot, 28 episodes of Bless This Mess. And I'm also on Top Gear, and I also host a game show. So I'm doing more than enough of that. Course. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. And in fact, it's more and more with it. When you just look at the amount of energy required and time committed, and 2 kids and all that. Less and less do I want to be on a scripted show that takes 65 hours a week, 9 months of the year. It's just, it's less and less appealing to me. All my acting aspirations are gone in a healthy way.
What about your directing stuff, though? Because you're a great director and you're able to juggle a bunch of balls at the same time and guide multiple departments and shape an experience for an audience. Is that something that you think you'll return to? I mean, I recognize it's a bit of a time suck and you're super busy, on the top of the hill. But, do you see that sometime in the future?
Because you used to say how much you loved it.
I love it. There is nothing more fun than when you're in production directing. To me, it's the closest thing you can get to doing cocaine with kind of no downside. You're just when you're there as an actor, as you guys know, you're like, when are we getting out of here? I arrive and I ask when are we getting out of here? As a director, the thing flips entirely where it's like, how long can we stay? I want to shoot, and maybe we could add this thing and just that flip of wanting to be there and wanting more time and the control of solving problems as they arise, because there's no game plan for a movie unless you have 130 days like Tarantino and you can sit around and wait for the sun to be where you thought it was going to be X, Y, and Z. Bateman, you do it all the time. You map something out, you guys got there 3 hours later, the sun's now in a different spot, you're now shooting on that side of the street instead of this side of the street, and I love solving problems. So I love going, okay, well, how can we make this work on the other side of the street? That's very stimulating for me. So I love it. Do I love editing for 4 months and then testing over and over again? I fucking hate that. Do I love promoting and getting tracking for fucking 2 months, knowing you're just going and promoting for no reason and it's going to tank? All that stuff, that the risk reward is just unappealing to me currently.
That part of it's dead, though. I'll bet you that part
it
of it's
is.
Dead.
You're so right. So would I want to write a pilot and shoot the pilot? Yeah, I think I would like to do that. That seems like something that would be manageable, and then you're not so dependent on the studio to promote it and all these other things. But yeah, just the heartbreak of 2 years, and then your whole life's decided on a Friday. I just don't need that again. It'd be like for me, having a boyfriend that kicked my ass and going back to that. Why would I do that to myself?
Tell me about it.
2.5 months of shooting isn't worth that to me. Last year as a mantra, I would be saying, your opinion's not needed here. Just as everywhere I go, your opinion is not needed here. Because I think everyone must hear my opinion on all fucking topics. And it's just, these people are doing just fine when I'm not around, guiding them with my genius.
Right. How do they make it without you? Yeah.
Yeah. I think, but Chris and I have both said that to each other in fights. Do you think that I just arrived here by accident? I was doing plenty good without you. I was eating and taking dumps and showering. Everything the bills were paid.
Right.
Yeah.
How do I tell them?
How do I tell them?
How do I pay the bills?
How do I pay the bills? I know what goes through your head when you're living with cancer. The questions, the fears, the need to know. How do I know? Because I'm living with cancer too. That's why I joined the Macmillan online community. And we can help people like you, whatever you need to ask. To join us, search Macmillan Online Community.
I'm Afua Hirsch.
And I'm Peter Frankopan.
And in our new podcast, Legacy, we explore the lives of some of the biggest characters in history.
This season, we delve into the life of Pablo Picasso.
The ultimate giant of modern art. Everyone has heard of or seen a Picasso work. or the Picasso brand on something.
But a man with a complicated, difficult, personal side too that makes us look at his art in a different way.
He was a genius, and he was very problematic.
Follow Legacy now, wherever you get your podcasts. You can binge entire seasons of Legacy ad-free on Amazon Music or by subscribing to Wondery Plus on Apple Podcasts or the Wondery app.
Hello, I'm Alice Levine, and I am one of the hosts of British Scandal. So I want you to imagine that you're being offered £500,000 to introduce someone to your ex. I mean, the answer is still no. So you shake hands and agree to do it. But it's all about to get a hell of a lot more complicated, because the you in this story is Fergie, the Duchess of York, ex-wife of Prince Andrew. And the person who's offered you £500,000 is an undercover tabloid reporter who's recorded the whole conversation. Oh, and just one more thing, promise, last one. It's all about to appear on the front page of the News of the World. In the latest season of British Scandal, we take you inside the story of the so-called fake sheikh, the investigative journalist Mazza Mahmood, and the series of explosive sting operations he used to con public figures. From Fergie to singer Talisa and former England football coach Sven-Göran Eriksson. Follow British Scandal wherever you listen to podcasts, or listen early and ad-free on Wondery Plus on Apple Podcasts or the Wondery app. Honestly, £1 million and I still wouldn't introduce you to him. And that's for your sake.
Now, Dax, I know you jumped around because the last time we talked a week ago or 2 weeks ago, you had mentioned about jumping around from house to house when you were a kid, from stepfather to stepfather, and it was very uneasy and kind of like, I had a hard childhood too, as you know, but
yes.
But why, talk about that a little bit, and why that was unstable for you, and what did that drive you to do or not do in your adult life? How do you, and by the way, was comedy an escape from all of that as well? Did you I got to get out of here. The only way to deal with this is drugs, alcohol, and laughing.
Sorry, and Dax, be warned, this is a 14-prong question. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, I'm going to parse this out. I think I heard, why are you a comedian and why are you an alcoholic? So let me try to sum that up.
Oh, so I'm coming through loud and clear then.
Yeah. And you guys are 5-hour episodes?
This is going to be a two-parter. Special two-parter.
Yeah, because I want to plot out my answer. I want to land the plane in under 3.
Can I just say before you start, before you start your answer, can I just say, because I don't think it came out enough, how goddamn happy I am that Dax is here.
Yeah, it's pretty bitchin'.
This is such a fucking joy.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard Dax, I had a kid. My son was born yesterday. I had a newborn. And I'm sitting here with 3 of my fucking old-timey pals, and this feels so goddamn good, and I'm so happy it's you. Go ahead.
I love
God, listen to all the love oozing out of this softy new dad. I love it.
I
wish I could kiss you right on the mouth.
How masculine is Arnett? He just can't have a girl. You and I can only have girls.
Exactly.
And this guy's on Propecia and still making boys.
Nothing but testosterone coming out of him.
That was my explanation for having all girls. I'm like, it must be the Propecia, the tetrohydroxytestosterone.
I am on nothing but Propecia. That's all
If you kept going, you'd have a fucking football team on your hands in no time, Arnett.
It's crazy. Anyways.
An entire police force. Okay, so... Look, I have a genetic predisposition. I come by it honestly. A lot of Shepards were alcoholics. I got some uncles that shot each other. A lot of my people in prison. We're all from northern Kentucky that migrated to Michigan. So that's the gun. And then what loaded it is, you pointed out, was lots of stepdads, some physical violence, some sexual abuse, and then a penchant for fucking fun-loving life. So. Yeah. Just a thrilling, but I would say probably the biggest catalyst was with the absence of a father figure giving me approval. I sought it with reckless abandon from my peers, and my peers were all about how hard could you party, how could you fight, how far could you jump a motorcycle, how long could you wheelie. And I was like, sign me up for all these. I want the masculine credentials. I want to be a man, and I did all those things.
It should be noted that you probably did those things more than all those people who challenged you to knowing Dax.
Okay.
Well, some of all those things happen at the same time. On some occasions, show up lit on a motorcycle to the bar and start swinging. So you can dovetail them all into one explosion. And then, unlike you gentlemen, I was auditioning for 10 years in LA, and could not get a job, couldn't book a commercial, and that was rough. And yeah, booze was a nice little vacation from that.
Hard to see everybody around you, kind of, especially you were at the Groundlings, which is kind of like Second City and all of the other improv classes. Hard to be around all those other people who are like booking stuff left and right. And you were in the Groundlings with Melissa McCarthy and just all these huge names.
Yeah, and I would go home and I'd pop on the TV to watch basketball, and all of my classmates and peers were selling auto insurance and fast food, and and they were all just quietly making like $70,000 a year, doing commercials, and I instead was driving cross country for General Motors to make ends meet,
which I'm sure they were jealous of.
They were so jealous. They were like, how many hours are you in that car on the weekend? I'm like, around 72. I think I even blew by Bateman and his buddy on their infamous ski trip in that van.
Now, all right. Now listen.
Wait a second.
What is this story?
Leaf Garrett?
It was a 40-foot bounder, not a van. How dare you?
Was it Leaf Garrett?
Oh, God. Have I never told you this story?
Give people context,
Come on, give us context, Bates.
I tried to get it all out of him on my podcast, but it was too dangerous. So maybe on his, he'll feel empowered to tell us the truth.
You got to. You have to now.
In his retelling on my podcast, there's just some gaps in time that he has no explanation for, but we all know what the fucking
I think we went down a rabbit hole about wiping techniques. I think that exhausted our time.
I heard that. Yes.
So Leif and I were buddies because Leif Garrett, he was dating my sister, and I just thought he was just the coolest thing in the world. And then they broke up, and he and I stayed friends, and I was thrilled about it. And he was a great skier and knew his way around a bottle of booze, and
he admired his skiing prowess
and everything else. No, this guy's it. And then I pitched, I wanted to just take him away. I wanted them all to myself. So I said, hey, how about we go on a ski trip, Angel? Okay. And he said, great. So we rented a motorhome, stocked it up with all you can handle, and
read between the lines.
Yeah, we put two mountain bikes on the roof so we could travel from the RV parking lots into the main town wherever we'd go, and we plotted a loop. We went north from Los Angeles to Mammoth. Then we went to Tahoe. Then we went to Jackson Hole. We went to Sun Valley. We went to Aspen. We went to...
You went to a lot of places, yeah?
Utah.
Yeah. We don't need the itinerary.
Well, but
you put some miles on it.
But that's significant,
Where'd you gas up in between? I mean...
so we took a couple of weeks.
I would say the beauty of this story is in the details, Bateman.
Okay,
so don't
sorry.
spare us any. Yeah, I love every one of these stops.
I can't do any more details than just destinations. Mostly because I can't remember. Once we turn the rig off, things got a little cloudy.
It should be noted, as hardcore as that is, and you guys going on this trip where you're filling the RV full of party supplies and stuff, the nerd element is, and we had the mountain bike so we could go from wherever our destination into the town. Like, what, nerd?
And that's a new development for me. Can I tell you what I thought when you originally told me there were mountain bikes involved and skis? I was like, God bless these guys. They're doing some downhill mountain biking. Like, I assume when they come out of elevation and it gets warmer, they're in Moab maybe on the mountain bikes.
No, it's drunk.
This is kayak shy.
No, it's a winter trip. So we're riding these mountain bikes in the snow, pretty lit up. Sure. It was tough.
Do you remember my first follow-up question when you told me that story privately?
I do not.
I said, if and how often were you and Leif both making love in the same RV at the same time? It's close quarters.
I bet I had a pretty colorful answer for that.
Listen, this is great. And thank you, Dax, for saying make love. Good for you.
Yeah. This is a couple of thrill seekers, romantics. They're on the road for God knows how long.
Not a fuck trip. This was beautiful mountains and making love and rivers and light snow.
Dax, because I want to get back to like life stuff because I love it and I wasn't there in this story, so I'm kind of bored by it.
Oh my God.
Okay, Sean, I'll spice it up for you. Any dudes come in that fucking
RV?
Finally.
Jesus God.
This is
all of a sudden
swing their wangs around at all.
My earphones just popped up a little
Trust
bit.
me, you guys are singing. You guys know when you work with Sean, it's like, yeah, your line, your line, your line, my line,
right.
your line, your line. Everybody else talks. Everybody else.
Thank you for teaching me that, Will. So obviously, the four of us have been friends for a super long time and know everything about each other, or almost everything about each other. I didn't know about the Magnum Cum Laude. But for the people listening who don't know, like, you're one of the funniest people I've ever known, Dax. And like when you were going from house to house, stepfather to stepfather, like for me, I didn't fall into the trap of drugs and alcohol like the three of you did.
Not yet.
So it's not a competition. So not yet. And so my true escape, my nerd escape, was Saturday Night Live and comedy, because it made me, if I could laugh or make other people laugh, it made me feel euphoric. That was my corny, dumb, nerdy drug, because I didn't do drugs, right? So for you, running around doing all that, who were your influences, and who did you watch, and was comedy as much of an escape as a drug like it was for me?
Okay, so what I love about this is I'm juggling three balls, and I'm juggling Sean Hayes and Bateman and Arnett, and it's great. So
which hand am I in?
Click in.
Which hand am I in?
You're in the air right now. You're in the air. But to answer your question, so what I like about it is I'm clicking back from sincere to getting roasted. But to that, I would say, the other element was I was, severely dyslexic, and I went to the learning disabled room for an hour a day, and they knocked on the door, and they basically brought me and the other guy out. You can imagine what he looked like. It was demoralizing, and yeah, my defense for that was I was funny. But I think it now, that I'm older, I really recognize it's control. Every one of these things is control. Why I like cars and motorcycles, it's all control. And why I like comedy is control, because I'm in an awkward, we're all awkward. We all have social anxiety. And I have this thing where I could take charge of the whole interaction, and I could steer it, and I could do something and get a predictable outcome. And I loved that predictability. I think my childhood was largely unpredictable and sometimes dangerous. And just having a sense of control over my environment and the people in it, that's what appealed to me. A lot of comedians will go like, oh, I just love the joy of making other people laugh.
Right.
Not me. I like control. I like predictability. Yeah. I'm not that altruistic.
Yeah, I get that from you.
Well, then that sets up well for what you're killing right now, right? And I want to talk about that. I mean, I think it is incredible, awesome, fantastic news that you're just right up on top of the mountain with what you're doing with your podcast. I just and we're three morons trying to see if we have any idea what the hell we're doing in this space. So I want to try to pick your brain a little bit and try to keep it entertaining about how we try to do this half as good as you're doing it. But just I do want to say, I've told you privately, I want to tell you publicly, I'm so happy for you with how incredibly successful your podcast is. And do you like the dynamic of the control of that, where you know who the guest is, what the questions should be, what the angle is going to be, and then kind of pivoting inside of that and trying to be a little bit flexible yet still in control? I mean, it's an appealing thing, I'd bet, yeah?
For sure. It's like, it's downright euphoric when it goes well, when you really do, not to get corny, but you can reach a state of flow in this. It happens to me all the time where, I interviewed Yuval Harari, and they're like, he's got to leave in an hour. And I was like, okay. And then all of a sudden I saw the person like signaling us he had to go. And in my mind, I would have bet my children's life on the fact that we had been talking for 12 minutes.
Yeah.
And an hour had gone by. And I was like, oh my God, that reminds me of, other aspects of our work where that can happen. It happens to me in the editing room, right? Where it's just like you're so hyper focused on this thing, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I've been editing for 6 hours. That's crazy. Or, I think I get that on the motorcycle track. Anytime I'm present, I'm not worrying about what Dax needs in the future or what I don't have now. As soon as I escape that prison of my brain, I'm really happy and I enjoy it. And yeah, there is this great sense of, it's not unlike acting too, where it's like if you get into a scene and it's really sloppy and things are changing and you're reacting, and then all of a sudden some magic kind of happens. And that, to me, that the podcast is like, it's 2 hours of my favorite aspect of acting. Like, can I listen? Can I respond? Can I elevate this? And And I have found it, I directed 3 movies, and the whole goal of directing a movie in theory would be that you're going to let someone in on your point of view, how you're processing this world around you. And yet you're confined by the 3-act structure, and you're confined by the rules of Aristotle and poetics. There's all these things you're confined by. And then I realized on the podcast, like, I sit down for 2 hours. You're in my fucking point of view. If there was ever a fast pass to my point of view, it is that podcast. And it's what normally takes me 2 years to do. And I don't even succeed when I make a movie.
Has it made directing and acting less important then? I mean, you're getting satiated with this, yeah?
Yeah, what's funny is I heard Joe Rogan about 5 years ago say he had no desire to act. And I, as a cynical piece of shit, thought, oh, that's bullshit. He's just not getting asked to act anymore, and that's his story now. And now I totally believe him. And it's not that I don't have a desire to act or anything. It's just that, this is fucking incredibly fulfilling. I don't have to get hair and makeup. I drive to my guest house above my garage. There's so many elements that are heaven about it.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Day, the creator and host of How to Fail. It's the podcast that celebrates the things in life that haven't gone right and what, if anything, we've learned from those mistakes to help us succeed better. Each week, my guests share 3 failures, sparking intimate, thought-provoking and funny conversations. You'll hear from a diverse range of voices sharing what they've learned through their failures. Join me Wednesdays for a new episode each week. This is an Elizabeth Day and Sony Music Entertainment original podcast. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Anna.
And I'm Emily.
We're the hosts of Wondery's podcast, Terribly Famous, a show where we bring you outrageous true stories about our most famous celebrities. Our latest season is all about the catwalk queen, Naomi Campbell. For years, Naomi had to fight to be treated fairly in an industry that was overwhelmingly white. That drive saw her break down barriers and reach the pinnacle of high fashion. But it also got her into some dangerous situations when it spilled over into an anger she couldn't control.
In our new season, Naomi Campbell's Model Behaviour, we tell the story of how a young girl from South London became a trailblazing black icon, but had some very public falls, of how she stood up to the British tabloids and won, and the lengths she had to go to be the first black woman in history to make the cover of French Vogue. But she risks losing it all when her explosive behaviour lands her in court.
Follow Terribly Famous wherever you listen to podcasts, or listen early and ad-free on Wondery Plus on Apple Podcasts or the Wondery app.
Many put their hope in Dr. Serhat. His company was worth $500 million. His research promised groundbreaking treatments for HIV and cancer.
Scientists, doctors, renowned experts were saying, genius, genius, genius.
People that knew him were convinced that he saved their life.
But the brilliant doctor was hiding a secret.
Do not cross this line. That was being messaged to us. Do not cross this line.
A secret the doctor was desperate to keep.
This was a person who was willing to cold-heartedly just lie to people's faces.
We're dealing with an international fugitive.
From Wondery, the makers of Over My Dead Body and The Shrink Next Door, comes a new season of Dr. Death, Bad Magic. You can listen to Dr. Death, Bad Magic ad-free by subscribing to Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.
One of the things that's really great, this is more sort of an observation, is that, and I bet the other guys will back me up on this, is that you are a guy who's very, very interested in the world around, and you're very interested in other people and what other people's perspectives are. You're often blown away when confronted with somebody else's perspectives. It's really cool to watch you be like, wow, this motherfucker thinks this? That's crazy. But not bad, more like, that's wild. That's not how I looked at it. And you hear that when you talk to people. So, one thing was, I don't know if you guys watched that Michael Jordan documentary. It's hit me. Yeah, it's great, and it's hit me a couple times.
To say I watched it's not fair. Like,
yeah, it's not.
Fucking injected it or something. Yeah.
It's so great. And do you remember the part where the guy said Jordan wasn't the fastest runner, the best shooter, or whatever, but never has there been somebody who's been more in the present moment than that guy. He's always in the present moment, and I think that that's what you're kind of touching on. That desire to be. I understand that, and I understand to the extent that I'd love to be able to connect with it as much as possible because when I do, it feels so fucking good. And that's what I hear coming through from you, like that desire to be right there in that moment, like you said, when you're on the motorcycle track or doing the podcast, right? Like that's the kind of zone you want to live
Howard
in.
Stern does that really well. There's a sincere curiosity about other people's perspective and really stays engaged in his conversations with people. You do that incredibly well too.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, so two things. One, I just want to give full credit to AA. The whole reason I'm any of the things you guys might compliment is from AA. I 15 years ago, you would have liked me. I was a blast at the party, and I would have fought for you guys, but that it would have ended there. You wouldn't have asked me to like help you do anything and expect me to show up. So I give all credit to that. And then also, I just want to say, as far as the podcast and as far as you guys are concerned, I asked Chris Hardwick because I had him on early, and he's obviously done tremendous in this. And I said, what advice do you have for me? And he said, you know, the less and less I prepare, the better I am. He said, because inevitably, if you're trying to lead someone to a story, best case scenario, you'll hear that story. Great. But you already knew that story. So there's limits to your engagement. You can only be so interested in something that you already know the outcome of. And it's palpable. And he said, you know, be flexible. Let the thing go where it goes. Don't try to steer it, you know. Have some flags planted, but you know, really be open to what can happen. And the times that I get into a state of flow is like the piece of paper vanishes, you know? I mean, obviously, you should come in prepared enough that if the person's a fucking dud, you can walk them through it. But also be soon as you get that green light that there's someone that can run, then you just fucking join them, you know?
And to that, who do you think, maybe you don't want to say, but can you think of a person who was potentially the biggest surprise in the sense of where you thought it was going to go and where you ended up? Was there one person who stood out to you as like, wow?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, my mom. That was my favorite interview I've done so far because, you know, she's not in the public eye. She's never been interviewed. And for her to tell her personal story succinctly and so powerfully was like, I was at, you know, I got to ask her questions in that interview. I never, A, even thought to ask her, and then B, maybe would have been nervous too, but the time was right and it happened. And so that was like a very profound experience. But dude, Dog the Bounty Hunter. Dog the Bounty Hunter, who we all have loved on television. We've seen him run through those doors with the industrial can of mace. He's got all of his kids. There's so many kids. You know, the whole thing's great. It's great entertainment. He shows up, and Dog is got a humongous bandage around his thumb, and he has been bit by an actual dog at the Starbucks next to my house minutes ago. So right out of the gates, I'm like, Dog the Bounty Hunter was just bit by a dog, you know, seconds ago, and he's here with this fucking makeshift bandage. So that already I loved. He came upstairs. His wife had only died 3 months ago. And he just went right at that. He must have cried 6 times. I started seeing like, oh, this dude was the sergeant at arms of the Devil's Disciples motorcycle. That's not Hollywood bullshit or fucking rap stuff. To be the fucking sergeant at arms of the Devil's Disciples, you've got to kick ass. And I'm looking at this guy, and he's the sweetest, most beautiful guy with a fucking terrible stepdad. And his whole life is about building this armor, this outward armor to say, don't hurt me because I will hurt you back. And I was like, I love you and I relate to you and I'm doing the same thing. Yeah. I've done the same thing always. And we've all had babies. You pick them up and they're fucking flawless. And then they just get injured and they create all this stuff to protect themselves. And I don't think I ever felt so, I related so much to a guy as Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Do you still feel like you have that armor? Like, do you still feel like you put that on to protect yourself? And if so, when do you drop that?
I think less and less, and I would credit Kristen with this entirely, which is, you know,
your wife,
for the
Kristen
first Kristen. Come on, Sean.
No, I know. Everybody knows.
Yeah. The only reason someone turned into this is to listen to Kristen Bell's husband talk about something. So
Sean wishes we could have Chirons on the podcast.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah.
Can I tell you guys one funny story about
pamphlets out before each episode? Go ahead.
Yes, please.
Really quick, funny story about Colin Hanks and I. About 2 years ago, I got invited to be a judge on a cooking show, right? And it was a tremendous amount of money for 3 hours of work. And I said, absolutely, I'll be there. I go there. Colin Hanks is the other host. They've got us on this scissor lift that's got to be 4 stories high, you guys. And it is so wobbly. They've built like this stage on top of this scissor lift. And then all the chefs are below cooking. And this thing is swaying and rocking. And I say to Colin, I go, I just want you to know when this thing collapses and we die, the headline's going to say Tom Hanks' son and Kristen Bell's husband die in scissor lift accident.
And by the way, so true. But you know that. Can I just say this? That so like 12 years ago, we go this Funny or Die tour that Will Ferrell's doing with, and Adam McKay is like doing the intro stuff for him, and Will's performing, and then he's got a couple stand-ups, and one of them is Galifianakis. And who else? A bunch of guys doing Nick Swartzen and stuff. And Adam had to leave the tour for like a week. He got sick. So anyway, we were doing promo for this thing, and he goes, "Come with us. We're leaving tonight, and you're coming. You're filling in for McKay for a week." I was like, "Great. It'll be super fun." So we go to like Penn State, and we go to University of Rhode Island. There's like 20,000 people in the arenas. It feels great. And Will goes out. He does the intros first, and I'm just kind of his sidekick on the side of the stage, helping him keep it moving. We get to Boston College, and it's packed, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, "Oh, we're so happy to have you." And here he is coming out. You love him. Here he is, Amy Poehler's husband. And I come out, and I'm like, in front of all 20,000 people, I'm like, "You son of a bitch."
That's hilarious.
Amy Poehler's husband. That's funny.
Anyway.
But anyways, yeah, so Belle had... we one time were on our
actress
way
Kristen Bell.
Princess Anna, Kristen Bell. What if she didn't even earn her own title? So we're on our way to this place, and we'd been together for maybe a year, and we're dressed up, and a guy threw this humongous drink at my windshield of my car.
No.
On Sunset. Yeah, right in front of Chateau. He was hammered, and he was like crossing Sunset in front of Chateau. There's no crosswalk there. He had plenty of fucking time. I didn't slow down. So then he realized I wasn't slowing down. So then he was like tough guying it, just standing in the middle of the road. So then I went by him on the outside. He chucked this huge drink. I thought the windshield had exploded because it was just, glass and ice everywhere. And I thought the windshield was blown out. So that thing exploded, and the e-brake was up, and I was exiting the vehicle before the car was stopped. And I fought this guy on the sidewalk. And, he was screaming, "I'll sue you." And the whole people at that magazine stand were like looking, and they missed the part where he fucking threw a glass at my car. So it literally looked like I was just beating the fuck out of a random guy on the sidewalk. Right. So
no jaywalking.
Yes, vigilante jaywalk enforcer. So I get back in the car, and my hunch is that she didn't love that. I know enough that wasn't great for her. But God bless her, she didn't say a thing. And we get to this restaurant. It was right before the Soho House opened, but they had it, running. And she and I had hurt my leg pretty bad because when I kicked him, I hit his head on my shin, and I had a huge egg on my shin, and she was aware of it, and I was kind of limping as we got out of the valet. And so she said she had to go to the bathroom. She came back, and she had procured me like a bag of ice and slid it to me under the table. This is like a meeting with her representatives. There's other actors there, and she's sliding me a bag of ice for my leg that I kicked somebody with. And, afterwards, we had a talk about it, and I said, "Thanks for not running me up the flagpole. I shouldn't have done that, blah, blah, blah." And she said, "Why do you do that?" And I said, I have a bully thing, and I'm going to protect everyone thing, and I will never be a victim again. I have all this stuff. And she said, I just want you to know, it doesn't make me feel safer that you'll stand up for me. It makes me feel more scared. Like when we go places, I'm afraid you're going to be punching people. And I was like, wow, that's the opposite outcome of what I'm trying to do. Like, I want you to know that I will fucking go through 10 guys if they're saying something to you. And she's like, yeah, that just doesn't make me feel safe. And I was like, well, I've been telling myself a lie. No one feels safer around me. Arnett, you don't feel safer. You're waiting for me to get into some shit.
Sometimes I think it's funny. I love it when you mix it up with others. There have been a few times where Dax like basically big brothered it for me, which is unbelievably great.
Dax, how often when you're out driving around in Los Angeles are you driving aggressively, taking risks, breaking laws? Not being irresponsible, but getting after it.
This is so embarrassing to say, but 100% of the time, I'm like the wolf in Pulp Fiction. Yeah. Like, it's 20 minutes away. I'll see you in 8 minutes. My hobby in life is getting that Waze.
I have that same bad habit. Yeah,
I get that Waze estimate of how long it's going to take me, and for me, if I don't beat that by 20%, I should throw my car keys in the trash.
I'm exactly the same way. I live my life exactly the same way.
I see that estimate, and to me, it says you're a fucking coward if it takes that long.
It's like name that tune. I'll beat that. I'll beat that in 2 minutes. I can beat that in 1 minute.
I told you this. We talked about it when I was on your show, but two of the guys on this tile, you and Bateman, are the only two people that I know, even in my life now, that if I get in a car, that I'm okay if they're driving. You two guys are the only guys. Sean, you and I haven't driven enough to.
No, I'm pretty bad.
Dax, wouldn't you love to do a remake of Against All Odds and do that race on Sunset that James Woods and Jeff Bridges did?
Bateman, remember I told you I wrote that the Daryl Hall show, right? That I sold to Showtime. Yeah. It was a false history of Daryl Hall's life.
Yeah,
from
it's
Hall
a great idea.
Really?
And I was going to play Daryl Hall, and then the whole world's fake. Like, you find out all the real meanings behind all those hit songs, and it's just insanity.
God, if you could get Schwartzman in a perm to do Oates. God,
well,
whatever happened with that? Because I remember you telling me about that.
It ended up getting really dicey with Daryl's giving us life rights. So I became friends with him, and he's an awesome guy. And understandably, he was nervous about, I'm telling a history of his life, but it's all insane. But Bateman, in the fucking pilot, shot for shot, the Against All Odds races in there in the same cars up Sunset. Literally, I wrote it. And my whole fantasy was like, I cannot wait to reshoot that fucking.
Do you think
chase
you'd ever be able to permit that? Like, get Sunset locked down so you could shoot that? No way, right?
Oh, it's so easy.
Dude, it's so easy. True story. We developed a pilot, Thoreau and I developed a pilot for Don Johnson playing like
Justin Thoreau.
Justin Thoreau playing a sort of
Jennifer Aniston's ex-husband.
Yeah, that's right. For Don Johnson, Tubbs' partner, we to do a thing where he plays this guy who's kind of like a Crockett, but later in. It was a great part. But we had this whole segment was the exact shot for shot through the intersection of Beverly Glen and Sunset, where he blows through.
Against all odds.
Against all odds.
God damn. All roads lead back to Against All Odds. Can we tell everyone the our DJ story, which is one of my favorite show business stories ever? Don Johnson, Arnett. So Arnett and I are doing a movie with Don Johnson. Yeah. And a couple funny things. Look, I loved Miami Vice, and Don Johnson's awesome. But I'm not a devotee of Don Johnson. But Arnett is he is his Joe Namath.
Look at
Michael Jordan.
Look at him.
It's over the line.
He is so thrilled that Don Johnson has landed. Like, we're in Italy, and he's like getting updates when DJ is going to arrive. He's so thrilled, right? And so Arnett gives him a real full court press from the second he arrives. And Don is cordial and nice, but even you would admit, Arnett, he's a little bit like, all right, bud. And then I'm treating him like...
I came on way too strong.
Fucking you! Yeah, the gates weren't even open when you were sprinting, and I was kind of giving him the you're the hottest girl in school treatment. I'm just ignoring him, but didn't he become obsessed with me, huh, Arnett?
He was like, I want you to do a remake. He's like, if they ever do a remake of
being him,
about being him, and I'm incensed. I'm ripshit. How dare he? Dax doesn't even care.
It's so great. And then so at one point while we're shooting this scene, and the scene is we're all in a church at a wedding, and Arnett and I are one pew behind Don Johnson, and the shot is of Don Johnson. But just prior to this scene, DJ pulls me aside because now he's mentoring me, and he says, you know how I connected with the audience on Miami Vice, what my trick was? And I go, no, what would you do? And he goes, I buzzed the lens. At least once an episode. Buzz the lens. I go, hold on. You would look right down the barrel of the camera. He goes, oh, yeah, just you glance it, you buzz the lens, you pop in, and then you're out. And that for him, that was the recipe for success on Miami Vice. So I immediately tell Arnett this. We're in stitches about it. The very next take, poor DJ, he's acting his ass off in the foreground. Us bozos are about on either side of his shoulders, looking right in the fucking lens. I mean, we are target locked, staring. It was the craziest feeling because all your trainings to never look at that lens, and we were straight in it for like 6 minutes, and now we're laughing so hard we're squeezing each other's legs, and we're trying not to bust, and we're just in the lens, and it made the fucking cut. It's one of the greatest days of filming ever.
What is this? What is this film?
Oh boy! When in Rome. Kristen Bell.
We'll tighten that up later.
That's not the point of that.
That's neither here nor
Actually,
there.
you know what, Dax? A good footnote to that is that DJ and I have since become good pals. I knew I would. I wore him down. And
you played the long game.
Oh, God.
Does he ever bring me up?
Of course.
The one that got away.
Of
course he does. You're the ex he can't stop thinking about.
Oh, man. I did love him. He's fucking awesome.
He's such a cool dude.
And then we took Buzz the lens and we just ran with it.
You know what? I've said it on virtually everything I've ever done since then. I've always talked about buzzing the lens.
I have heard that from you.
Yeah, I like to grab a little glass every now and then. I think a DJ. Just kind of look up.
Dax, you used to always say, I like to throw a fastball right down the lens.
Sure, right in the barrel.
Dax, as we wrap up, because I don't want to take too much of your time for your empire that you've built.
Yeah, and let me say as an aside, if Kristen ever gets sick of your garbage, just call me. I think you're swell. I think you're real swell.
Oh, wait, you'll take me.
Yeah,
I
I'll
thought you were saying you'll take her. Oh,
yeah, no. And I'll send Amanda over to Kristen's house and it'll be great. And we'll go on a ski trip.
Don't let him get you on a ski trip.
Yeah.
Get me.
Because what we'll do is we'll go north, we'll go to Mammoth, and then we'll head on up to
so 395, US 395.
Yeah, up into Sun Valley. Then we're going to take it over to Jackson.
But Dax, we are so proud of you for your success in this kind of world that we're just kind of chipping away at, and we do look up to you and are so honored that you joined us today, and not only as one of our closest friends, but as a mentor to this world we know nothing about. And so hopefully we can learn from you. And we love you so much, and thank you for taking the time in your busy schedule. I know you're taking over the world. So
love you, Dax.
Love you guys.
Love you, Daxie.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye, Daxels.
Say hi to Kristen. It never, ever gets old.
No, he's the best. My God, he's so open and so not afraid to be vulnerable in every single. I mean, I don't know what he hasn't revealed.
Yeah, and it's not a bit either. It's completely sincere. You can tell he really likes who he is. He's truly comfortable in his skin. He's always had incredible charisma, but I think he said that he's never been better, or that since he's been with Kristen, she's made him better. And he was great back in the day, but even now he's just. I was sincere. I hope he felt that I was sincere when I said if things don't work out with him, that he can call me.
He's such an authentic guy.
I should have left my number.
No. But he's such an authentic guy, and one of the things I think that you guys will probably agree with me on is, we've known him for a number of years, and you see him, he's gone through different stages in that time, but he's always been really honest about where he's at, wherever it is that he's at. That's what's so great.
Always. And I think that's why he's successful.
Yeah, now we see him in this place, and you can see that he is truly happy. So you believe it because it's true. It's not a bit. It's not an act.
And he's found a medium and a format that truly embraces and takes advantage of his best qualities. I'm thrilled for him.
Great guest, Sean.
Thank you.
Nice going, Sean.
All right. Well, until next time.
Hey, guy.
Nice potting with you.
See you tomorrow.
Oh, I like that. Nice potting with you.
Nice potting. Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye, you guys. So much fun.
Love you guys.
Love you guys.
Bye.
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 Smart.
If you like SmartLess, you can listen early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
Being an actual royal is never about finding your happy ending. But the worst part is, if they step out of line or fall in love with the wrong person,
it changes the course of history.
I'm Arisha Skidmore-Williams.
And I'm Brooke Sifrin.
We've been telling the stories of the rich and famous on the hit Wondery show Even the Rich, and talking about the latest celebrity news on Rich and Daily. We're going all over the world on our new show, Even the Royals.
We'll be diving headfirst into the lives of the world's kings, queens, and all the wannabes in their orbit throughout history. Think Succession meets The Crown meets real life.
We're going to pull back the gilded curtain and show how royal status might be bright and shiny, but it comes at the expense of, well, everything else. Like your freedom, your privacy, and sometimes even your head. Follow Even the Royals on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Even the Royals early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus.